What does it mean to say, I am? Is consciousness an accident of biology? Or is it the fabric of the universe? On Spinning the Light, we bridge the gap between ancient wisdom and modern inquiry. We're stripping away the illusions of the ego to find the radiant core of human existence. Join us, your hosts, Christy and Sharon, as we unravel the mysteries of the mind and illuminate the true nature of being. This is Spinning the Light.
Hello. Welcome back to Spinning the Light podcast.
Hope all of you guys are doing well.
Yes, we do. Recently, we've been going through a list of 100 things that you can do in your personal life, daily practices, to kind of create, a healthy mindset, have a little bit of peace of mind in the midst of all of the change that we're seeing. And we're seeing things that look like a collapse of some of our previous beliefs. And so now that we're collapsed aware, what are some of the things that we can do to kind of help, ourselves be at peace?
Well, and I think even along those lines, understanding that change is always happening and change can look like a collapse of one thing in order for the growth of something else.
Exactly. So this section is called Grief and Meaning. The world is burning and birthing at the same time. Holding both realities requires a heart capable of feeling. Grief is a necessary teacher and threshold to becoming. So, one of the first steps that they talk about is, and I do want to mention, this is by Gabrielle Feather. This was posted by Collective Evolution, so you can see the entire list there. The first one on the list is create a ceremony to honor lost species, a forest destroyed, or a dream that will never unfold.
I think most people have that dream that they maybe had, and for whatever circumstance or whatever, it kind of didn't happen. And there's always that coulda, woulda, shoulda, or whatever. And I think sometimes when we create that space for it, it actually helps us in that whole healing process and understanding just because I couldn't get to this piece doesn't mean I can't honor it, this piece, even the thought, the idea piece of it.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes we think we have things figured out and it doesn't pan out the way we plan. We were just talking to somebody that was disappointed that they didn't get a particular job and was saying about how that it kind of bothered their self-worth. And sometimes we can go down a whole rabbit hole with that. But realizing that maybe that did not happen because something else more spectacular is supposed to happen.
And I think we do that often is we put this idea out there. And if that idea doesn't happen, then we go into this, believe it or not, grief over the fact that it didn't happen. And sometimes we have to step away and say, what might be some of those reasons? There are some things that, and people say, well, it's okay. It doesn't matter. You can go do it now. And there are some things you actually can do that with. You can go do it. And there are some things you can't.
Yeah.
And we had talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not going to have children.
Yeah.
You kind of go through a period of, that would have been really nice and things like that. And people say, well, you can adopt it, but we weren't talking about the thing of having your own child, not just having children. Yeah, we can go have children. That is still an option. But for us to have a child, neither one of us, we're not there.
Yeah. But we gave it a lot of thought. And even though that did not come to fruition, I feel like that there's so many opportunities that we have. You've worked with kids down through the years. And
Yeah.
so, I think that there's other things that can come into play. And we don't always think that's going to fulfill us in the same way. But I think that it's our approach to things that makes a difference.
I agree. And, I think what you learn is that maybe it's not in this, but it's in something else. And I would remember all the little kids asking me, Miss Sharon, do you have kids? And I would tell them, oh, no, honey, because I get all of this energy for all of you. And I really believe that I was able to really be a part of their lives, and forever grateful for that.
I think what's really important is kind of sitting with your thoughts about some of those things, and it says about create ceremony to honor a lost species or a forest destroyed or those kinds of things too. Sometimes we just need to sit with that and sort of pay homage, I guess, in our heart to what has passed.
And I think we see that really, I think, when we see those museums that have those species that no longer exist,
Yeah.
that we can go and still see them and have wonderment over that. So I think there are things that very much so we still do. And I think that had friends from that lived in Bisbane, and when they bought their home, that was the thing. We had to clear some forests. Now we plant trees in honor of those that were taken down and things like that. So there's so many different things I think that we can do in that aspect. And one of the other things is when my brother passed away, he loved the outdoors. I mean, this many years ago. So planted a blue spruce for him in my parents' yard.
Mm-hmm.
So just you can do so many different things.
Yeah. So write a letter to the future filled with truth rather than solutions. Sometimes we don't have all the answers, but I think that when we are honest with ourselves and we can bring our truth to the forefront and be our most authentic self, that's the most valuable thing because, when you're acting from the place of the heart and showing kindness and compassion, that's really important because sometimes we try to give advice, but we don't know what those outcomes are going to be.
And I think too, when we're talking about writing the truth, and it's not about a solution to something, it's about being present in that moment. And if I can write a letter to myself, being present in a moment that has some impactful meaning to me, when I see that letter and take it out and read it as my future self, that gives me valuable information about where I was and where I am and that connection. And if I could be real, then it shows that that realness can continue on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's so much to doing it in that way of be real, be truthful, be authentic.
Yes. Read poetry that dwells in endings and let language metabolize what the mind resists.
I was telling her when I was in school, we had to read a poem called Ozymandias, King of Kings. And I always remember that because the whole premise of this poem is that Ozymandias thought he was the greatest. He was going to be the greatest of all time. So he builds this huge statue of himself and he's standing on this pedestal. And fast forward, a traveler's going through, and when he comes, he can see these legs upon this pedestal. The body's gone, the head's gone, but all he can see is Ozymandias, King of Kings, that he would be the king forever. And the thing is everything at that pinnacle is only at that moment. And nobody's going to be the greatest leader because there is always room for more. It's always about evolution. It's about change. It's about paying attention. And so when we look at that, it's even for us, we will have those pinnacle moments where we'll say, oh my goodness, I've reached this in real life. And people will do that even about when they're talking about growth and development. Oh, I know that. No, there's so much more to know.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more to learn.
Yeah. And we were also talking about like Shakespeare, King Lear in that play. The ending is just he died.
There was no more to it.
Yeah.
And I think where it really shows is if you haven't seen the movie Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, it's kind of a quirky movie, but they make reference to this in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
No fanfare, no this. He died.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's not about the death. He lived, he lived, he lived, he lived,
Mm-hmm.
and he died. It's got some power in the movie itself. So,
Yeah. Research the grief rituals of your ancestors and bring one back to life.
we were talking about this very much a part of our culture, and particularly when around death is, of course, a lot of people, you gather together.
Mhm.
We gather and feed because that's what you do. You eat.
Mhm.
And then after you go to the cemetery, we always have a meal. And historically, the meal was put on by the family. So family members would come together. Oh, you make the potatoes, you make this, you make the enchiladas or whatever it was. So the family would come together, and that is our time of remembrance and talking about that person, laughing, crying, all of those things.
Mhm.
And now as we fast forward, it's kind of changed a little because now family members aren't doing that. The other thing we do is your family fills the grave. You put
Mhm.
you shovel the dirt back in. Some people it's one piece. In our culture, we do the whole entire thing.
Yeah. I know my family through the years, they would once a year at least go and clean up the grave sites and stuff like that. And that was a part of our tradition. You don't see that as often anymore, but I think that if there's something that brings you comfort in doing these traditions and that, and it doesn't matter, sometimes you pick up other traditions along the way from other cultures even.
You know, when I do grief and loss, one of the things I always tell people is don't let somebody die twice. And what I mean by that is to forget them, to not talk about them. And so we had this opportunity just by happenstance, really, because we weren't looking at dates or anything. But anyway, we were in Los Cabos and they were actually doing Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah.
It was such an amazing, they did a play on it to explain, I mean, it just everything that goes into it and how they celebrate their dead.
Yes.
It's not
Remembering.
celebrate, it's remembering,
Yeah.
it's going and having conversations, bringing food and drink and stuff. It really, and the decoration of it and just, and so we really kind of fell in love with that
Yes.
thing.
We kind of adopted that tradition. It just really resonates with me.
Yeah, I agree. Because if they were that important in our life, they should continue to be that important. So those are things you can do. And you look up other cultures, look at what they do. Because sometimes you get from that. It's not one size fits all. It's let's borrow and let's grow in those things
Yeah.
in that experience.
Yeah. And it's what it brings to you. It doesn't matter,
Where it comes
where
from.
it comes from. Yeah. Allow tears to come without resistance. Sometimes it's important to do that. You have to let those things out.
And sometimes people think, well, I don't have a reason. It doesn't matter. Tears are a cleansing process. So it's very cathartic for us.
Yeah.
And it's a vulnerability that it's okay to have.
Mm-hmm. You
There's
hear
nothing wrong with it.
somebody say sometimes you just need a good cry, and that's true.
You need a good cry, and then they're like, oh my God, that felt so much better. I think I can go on now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Causes a subtle shift.
Uh-huh.
Plant a tree as a memorial. And that was something that you said that you guys did for your brother.
And it's funny because one of my clients was just saying that they had a few weeks ago a friend of theirs, they had a loss, and so they had gone in. That was the thing that they did is they planted a tree. Some people plant rose bushes. Some people plant whatever. And I don't plant trees, but every spring I do flowers for my mom because it was something that we would do. And so every spring, that's my time to hang out with my mom and plant some flowers and stuff. And with my dad, it's always that thing of something in nature and animals.
Yeah. And I think that too, because we're kind of talking about all the many changes and stuff like that. You can plant a tree or something like that. And maybe it's not even in memorial of a person. Maybe it's of something that's important to you or that. So that's something you could do as well.
And what I think is really interesting is so our first dog, well, not our first one, but our one in our home, Misha, when she passed away, I thought it was interesting because they gave us her ashes and then they gave us these seeds. So you can actually grow plants and use part of your ashes for the plants and stuff. And I thought, how cool is that too?
Yeah.
That nice remembrance, just the little things that we can do that reminds us the significance of somebody, or whether it's our four-legged ones or the people or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. Speak candidly with a safe friend who's ready about your fears for the future and allow space for uncertainty without glossing over it. So I think with that, I'm grateful you and I talk about a lot of different ideas and things and uncertainties. And I feel like that it really helps us. And I hope that others have that soundboard. And I think it's important to find somebody that doesn't make you more apprehensive or filled with anxiety. It has to be somebody that you trust.
That you know isn't going to judge those thoughts or ideas and things like that.
Yeah.
Because we don't realize how sometimes, and I'll always tell her this, if I'm got something going on in my head and I'll be there thinking about it now. It's like, oh my God, what am I doing? Just like go talk to Christy. I'll talk it through and I'm there like, oh, okay. I figure things out. And even about uncertainty about future, I think that one of the things is there is uncertainty about the future for everybody because no future is set in stone.
Mm-hmm.
But people will go with this huge amounts of anxiety instead of just talking about what scares them.
And one thing that I want to point out that, like what you were saying about talking to me about something and how you feel better, I may not even have to really say anything. I mean, it's not even so much always what I contribute, it's just you being able to voice it and think it through
Exactly.
helps.
And I think that's kind of one of the things. I know move this down just a little bit. Thank you. Exactly. It's the fact that I have somewhere safe to go.
Yeah.
That is the biggest thing. When you have somewhere safe to go and you can express all of that and know that person sitting across from you is just listening and being present.
Yeah. Exactly.
If you don't have that, find it. If you do have it, utilize it.
Yes. Create a regular grief circle where nothing is expected to be fixed. So, a grief circle, it could be loss over someone, it could be loss over an era that you like we're talking about, things are changing or that. And we need support. And I really feel like, as we talked about in some of the earlier steps, about building a support system and a community. And I think that's kind of what they're referring back to here.
Oh, absolutely. And I think when we're talking about grief, it doesn't mean we're staying stuck in it. But what it means is we have a shared experience
Mm-hmm.
and whatever that is. And that's why groups are important to people. Because when I go there, I have somebody who I can talk to who's going to be able to relate on some level to what I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
So it makes a big difference, I think, in having those connections, really working on what makes that group cohesive.
Yeah. So the next one is express your sorrow through art, painting, writing, or song.
Hmm.
And we were talking about that the other day too, just how you can express yourself through those creative channels. And sometimes I think that we get so overwhelmed and bogged down, we don't feel very creative. But I think that that's what part of this list is about, is creating the space for that.
I was talking to a client, loves music, does music, and, feeling a little lost or whatever that is. And I told her, you have to think of your life as music. And she goes, because she loves, she goes, well, yeah. And I said, no, it's like you have all of these musical notes and they're just thrown on the page. And I said, the thing is you look at it as fragmented, and we look at our life as fragmented. I said, but you'd be amazed at when you start to move those notes around. And I told her, when we're done with this, you're going to see that you're going to create the most beautiful melody of your life, and you're going to fall in love with it and who you are, because we just have to put things together.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to see how do we make that work for us. And I always tell people, music is any of the arts, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can go in, whether you hear a song and it moves you.
Yeah.
It's you feel it in a way that you can't even describe, but it moves you. You feel it in that center, that core of who you are, that soul piece, whatever you want to call it. And it's amazing how it can help transform you. But imagine if you're creating your own,
Mm-hmm.
what that really means. I called him Guitar Man. He had a lot of trauma, but he would write music and do guitar and he just stopped. He goes, I can't. He goes, there's all this and all. It was bad. And I told it, he goes, well, when we know I'm better? I said, honey, we'll know you're better when you walk into my office with your guitar in hand and you sing me a song about your healing process. And sure enough, one day Harry comes in with his guitar, sat down, played his guitar, and sang his song. And I looked at him, I said, it was such a pleasure working with you.
Mm.
I says, now you get to go on, create your music, be you, be that authentic piece of who you are.
Yeah. I think when you have the freedom of that expression through that creativity, it takes you to a whole different level. And you have to be so mindful about being in that moment. It takes you away from the chaos of everything else.
We always have music in our house,
Mm.
always.
Yeah.
And trust me, even if I'm working and there's no music, she's either singing or she's listening to music somewhere else. I can't talk to her. She's got earbuds. But the thing is it does, whether it's reading, a lot of people don't like poetry. Some poetry can be very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Reading something can be huge. It can have such an impactful thing on us.
Yeah.
Looking at art. I know when we went to the Louvre, that was so awe-inspiring. The art from different eras and centuries and places
Yeah.
but the commonality was every single one of those cultures had art.
Mm-hmm.
So it just goes to show you the power of it
Yeah.
and that it told a story. And understand that when you do art, it tells your story.
Yeah.
I used to love that when I worked with kids. And we would do what's called inside outside boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd get these empty boxes and they could be in the shape of hearts or whatever, stars, whatever. And I would run a group and I was going to run a group. And then there was a 4-year-old getting ready to be 5. And they said, he's too young. I said, I'm going to let him in. I said, I don't know what this means. And just we're going to let him in. The cutest little dude, I tell you. Anyway, we're doing the inside outside boxes. And he's doing his little glue and he's sticking stuff on and doing all. So the outside is how the world perceives you. The inside is you. Okay, it's a great exercise. Anyway, we're doing this exercise, right? And then you have to explain. So I come to his and I go, He had little things on the outside, glitter, like little kids do. So I open the inside of the box and I look in and it's got this black mesh over it. And I said, I says, well, what is it? And he goes, look closer. So he gets the box and he kind of squints to my eye. And inside there's something in there. And I says, well, baby, what is it? He goes, if you look close enough, it's me crying. And I was there like, you're freaking 4 and 5 and you get this? Through art, he was able to express that because he didn't talk a lot about his feelings.
Oh.
But he does that. So fast forward, I have the parents do the group too.
Mm-hmm.
So I have them do the inside outside boxes. So the mom and dad are doing theirs. Mom does this beautiful box. And then the inside, we sort of good talk. And so the dad's doing his, and you can see his struggle. You can see his struggle. Anyway, it's like you see the light go on. He goes, oh. So he starts doing his box. And then so when we do it, and he has a heart box. And so we get it, and then the outside's done up, represents strength and all this. But then you have to give me the box. So I go, and I can't take that off. He goes, I go, what does this mean? He goes, I just realized, he goes, I've sealed my heart off for so long. He goes, you can't see in it. This was the dad to the little boy.
Oh.
So art think about what that did.
Yeah.
That moment was the start of a really great healing process.
Yeah. It's
So
pretty awesome.
use it, explore these things. It
Mhm.
can mean so much to you.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure. So remember that grief is a form of love and let it deepen your commitment to what remains.
wow, isn't that powerful? When you hear that statement, what is that like for you?
Well, it helps me to remember, like we often say about, especially over the loss of someone, how we keep them alive through the conversations that we have. And we're not just only focused on their passing, but keeping them alive through conversation. What were they like?
It made me think of one of the things you often say is sometimes you say, gosh, I wish my dad was here because who you are today.
Hmm. The conversations that I would have today, just having a different outlook on life. And
Well, even in that, and now you'll say, oh my goodness, my dad and I share these things. You didn't share them at a certain age.
yeah, I just didn't understand. Yeah.
But now we talk about, oh, what your dad would think about us living here and hiking, and you be out hiking, and we like to be with nature and all of those things. She was a little girly when she.
Yeah, I stayed in a lot.
He would have never guessed this. No,
Right.
no, and I think, but that's it. That's the thing. It's identifying too in that grief is love, and now you have this love that you share with your dad, even though he's not here.
Yeah.
So grief is not the ending unless we let it be the ending.
Yeah.
Death is not the ending. Even when we're talking, not even about people, when we're talking about ideas and things shifting and changing, when a job ends, it's just the end of that. And then it's what did I learn?
And that it makes space for growth.
And we didn't touch on this one just real quickly though. The end of relationships.
Yeah.
I always remind people that people come into our lives and stay in our life only as long as they're needed,
Mm,
you know?
exactly.
So it's not a matter, we don't have to elongate some things.
Hmm.
But what happens is we get so caught up in the loss of something, like it's the end or I've done something bad, they've done. No, sometimes it's just walk away because it's about there being more growth and development that's going to take place.
Yeah.
The end of a relationship sometimes is not the end of the world, but we will make it the end of the world. And then people do stupid things
Yeah.
that don't need to happen when we just realize there's, like you said, that end is making space for something else if we allow it. And I always tell people and we work on this a lot as a parent, they're like, what did you learn?
Yeah.
What do you want to see differently in another relationship? If it's parent child, same thing. Instead of if this part of it ended, they're no longer a child. Now you're into this adult thing. And how do you shift it? How do you change it?
Exactly.
Because you're evolving too as a parent.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of growth going on, a lot of change.
Yeah.
But
For
it's
sure.
what do we do?
And I think that's what all of these steps are about. It's about building the new. We can't fight the old, but we can build the new.
Hmm. And sometimes if I get too caught up in fighting the old, that's where I stay stuck. I'm just stuck in the old.
Yeah.
I'm afraid. And it's fear sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know this.
Hmm.
Well, guess what? Nothing in your life you knew.
Exactly.
Nothing. Everything to us from the moment of birth was new.
Right.
New ideas come, it's new. But then think about it when these first came out. A lot of people are like, I don't know what to do with that. Now, everybody walks around with them.
Like it's another appendage. Yeah.
Yes, they do. But yeah, so this is the thing. How can we expand on this and how do we keep that growth going and not get into places of despair or understanding that it's okay for there to be change?
Yeah.
And how do we keep moving with it? you know.
Exactly. So hopefully you heard something that helps you. And hopefully, as we continue on with this list, you'll find little gems in there that will help you along the way.
And if it's not a gem for you, it could be a gem for a friend or family member.
Exactly. So we hope that you will share with others. You can find us at spinningthelightpodcast.com and wherever you get your podcasts. And also on YouTube, we are Worlds of Wonder by Spinning the Light. That's where the inside world meets the outside world, and you see some of our travels. And then also, of course, on social media.
Yeah, we make you be everywhere now.
So thank you so much for listening.
We appreciate it. We're very grateful. And, we wish each and every one of you a great week. And as we said, we're kind of moving this to every 2 weeks for right now.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean this is change. Doesn't mean that we might not go back to once a week. We don't know. That's the beauty of it. We get to just morph and move around in this life and make decisions and choices. And you look, does it work? Does it not? It's okay. Something ends, something begins. That's how this all works.
Yes.
Okay. So you guys have a great week and we will be back soon.
Bye.
Bye.